right out there in nature.
Hours.
My dad used to say, go tell your mother she wants you.
If my grandma had said that to me, I would have said, I don't want to.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to the Ark of the Covenant. There has always been the presence here and of that possibility that we all have within us. But it's also being made manifest externally. So in the Ark of the Covenant, if anybody looked, there isn't really anything there except energy, the light. The light is present and it's being held. And it had to be held because this place where gravity is part of our construct is non-gravitational. And there was a lot of talk around this in the last 10 years or so about, because the man down in the States who discovered what he called the arms. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it was actually how he could rearrange through a spin factor certain gold molecules, and it would become non-gravitational. So ORM stands for orbitally rearranged molecular
Stuff.
yeah.
Structure.
Does this mean it floats or something?
It does.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's and you know, we've known throughout history, if we haven't seen it with our own eyes or having our own experience of it, we've read about it and we've been told that there are beings that have set upon this planet who have gotten to a state of consciousness who then could levitate and who could have you know, some kind of non-gravitational experience. And we all know this within us. We all know this.
There's
Yeah.
dreams about it.
Yeah. Often we'll feel that in our you know, that feeling, that knowing in our dream time of.
Was it Philip Neri that kept floating? He would be saying mass, and he kept floating up, and so he had a brother stand there telling jokes or something.
Yeah.
And come down.
You know, for the very first time in my whole life, Dennis he would say that, you know, he flies in his dreams. I never fly. And it's only just recently I start to have the experience of flying. This thing starts to come to me as an idea, you know. I mean, it came to me as a thing where I just get on top of this huge eagle and lay out there, you know, spread eagle on top of the eagle, and just fly,
Wow.
you know. So I said, this must be a good thing, you know.
Yes. Can you imagine when we get to the level of anger that, and we're working through some of our control and out of control, how much resistance we let go of there in order to have enough control that we have not the connection to the gravitational pull. That is actually what occurs when we come in our resistances of control.
You know, obviously we came from where we could do that. When I was in high school, I can remember standing on my front lawn, and I knew I could fly, but I couldn't do it. But it wasn't like a question.
Yes.
I remember running and jumping a few times, and I knew that if I just could get something right in my mind,
Yes.
that I could fly. And then I've done it in my dreams, and in the dreams, what happens is I'll be walking along or something, and I just start to fly. I just know that I can. And it's just it's the most amazing. It's just such an amazing feeling. And then I can go as fast as I want or as slow as I want, or you know.
Yes. But when we release our resistances to all the resistances to that,
Right.
then again we will experience it.
Right. But it's like I know it's there. You know,
Yes.
because I remember.
This is Zach and I have been looking at a lot of John's old videos from like 95, 96. And he gave a discourse the other day about, a lot of people were interested in the extraterrestrials, and people were having a lot of extraterrestrial experiences around the body electronics events. You know, I mean, ships were landing and all kinds of things were happening as you know, they were, you know, checking out what was going on. And so John gave a discourse about this. I had a lot of extraterrestrial involvement in my life, in this particular life, and interterrestrial involvement as well. And the interesting thing is when we have experiences and see beings from other places who are using ships. You know, they've come, we know that they are all the time visiting the Earth. Well, they've become so technologically advanced that they can literally move with ships. And they want to come here and check us out. Why? Because we're actually more advanced than they are.
Really?
Yes.
And how so?
Because we are moving in consciousness to the place where we no longer
Don't need
need
ships.
ships.
Yes.
That's true, Laura.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I got something in there that I can't like, reach.
Yes?
Just another one of these free things where I can't reach it.
Uh-huh.
Where I'd like have utter terror, at any kind of image of the, that looks like an ET, you know, any drawing or,
Yeah.
you know,
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I was molested. I have a vague feeling that something happened when I was 14 on a certain hill at home,
Yes.
but I can't bring it to consciousness.
You will when you're ready, when you get to that level of willingness where those things will come back. I went through a lot of extraterrestrial memory, because one of the things that the extraterrestrials who have great technological advancement, one of the things they're trying to figure out is how they can be us too. And one of the ways, I mean, we hear a lot of talk about the Greys, and one of the ways they wanted to do that was to take, they thought if they take some of their DNA, they knew they were dying as a race, and they weren't evolving because they went totally brain consciousness. You can do a lot with the brain, but you can't become ascended conscious beings with a brain. So they wanted to regain their emotional bodies and start going back through in the way they saw us moving. So they took some, you know, that was part of the reason that some of the beings came. And I began to look at that, you know, you hear the word abduction or you hear the word molestation or things like that. I began looking at that in a very different way. I saw it almost as a service to another race. They want to evolve too. And they had enough sense to know, in a way, how to do it. So they came and they extracted some of the DNA from humanity. And in a way, we offered that as a service to our fellow beings. There's nothing in the universe that isn't of God.
Boy, that gives you a totally different outlook on the ETs, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I just recently heard this thing too, and this is again all the kind of adjustments we do, is that the really bad ETs are the Greys.
Yeah, well, we see them as bad because they used certain methods that were a little underhanded, to say the least. You see? They didn't come with integrity.
I see.
And they felt because of their only working from the brain, they thought the only way to do it was to steal it.
I see. Wow.
And, you know, and
And of course, if they do that, it won't work.
Well, it'll work for them eventually. If they have the intention to move forward in a loving way, and that was the intention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They wanna move they wanna expand.
Mhm.
City judgment again.
Yeah.
They wanna become loving.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does that apply to entities that you could, you say the word entity and you always think bad, you know?
Right,
Uh,
right.
But would that be an entity trying to come in and live along with somebody here for benefit?
It can be that. It can be, entities that hitchhike, it's usually almost completely based in fear and unconsciousness. Because they really just don't see the way.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So they think, well, just, go along for the ride. They don't know what else to do.
I've run across this thing from someone that was explaining to me that in our Western culture, and especially in the Christian culture, because we don't consciously recognize the fact that people have to pass through stages after they die and go somewhere specific, that we don't have any rights that are geared toward the dead. So like when you have a service for somebody, it's really
Right, R-I-T-E.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the people that are there you're trying to, honor them,
Soothe or,
right.
uh-huh.
Whereas like in the Tibetan, the East Indian, and the Native American, all these other cultures and the indigenous cultures,
Yes,
when somebody dies, they help them move
yes.
on.
It's about the being
Right.
who's going.
So
Right.
he's saying that there's a tremendous amount of souls right now they're not bad, they're not good, they're just lost because
Yes.
they've died,
Uh-huh.
and our culture doesn't have anything to help them, and if they don't, if they haven't gotten themselves in a certain place before they died,
Yeah.
they're drifting around.
Well, I'll just touch briefly on that.
Yeah.
We can only help from this side
Uh-huh.
a little bit,
Yeah.
just a little bit. But it's all really about consciousness. So if we leave this physical vessel and we feel like we're still in the level of emotionality, where we're still a victim and we're not able to move, well, that's exactly what's going to happen on the other side.
Mhm.
So beings on this side who really can see over to the other side can assist that being a little bit, to make a little bridge
Mhm.
for that other being. But beyond that, there is vast experience. So, and there's always beings
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
on the other side.
Right.
There's always those the beings that are the helpers, that assist on the other side as well.
Mhm.
It's all consciousness.
You mentioned the thing about a service to the ETs
Yes,
by having them take our DNA or whatever.
yes,
Made me think of something that I'd read recently, which was an eye-opener to me, about the service that a carrot does when we eat it.
Mm.
That, that we need that food, at least
Mhm.
we think we do anyway.
Uh-huh.
But also that carrot becomes, physically part of us as well as in consciousness.
Yes.
And that it's a reciprocal arrangement.
Mhm.
And the thing the old Hasids taught, the Hasidic Jews, was that there was this evil urge, and all the young Hasids were worried about what the evil urge was going to get to them somehow. In fact, one of the old Zodics explained that the real aim of the evil urge in opposing you in whatever you're doing and so forth is for you to succeed. Basically, I think, I don't know what the right word would be, but to absorb that thing and take it with you on your way to God, because the evil urge doesn't know how to get there any other way
Mhm.
except by providing this seeming opposition, which also constitutes the support that we need in terms of, of adversity or, illness.
Yes.
Those sorts of things that we tend in our ordinary minds to think of as obstacles or difficulties, which are really opportunities.
Mhm.
I think again, it's the way all this stuff
Yes.
comes together
Uh-huh.
is very,
Well,
That's the funny thing about the duality thing, there is like, there's specific, distinctions. Dionysius the Areopagite says it, or basically argues that the evil doesn't really exist. So you don't have equal
Yeah, right.
and
There's
opposite
it's not
forces.
dualistic. Right. There's no power equal to God in opposition,
Right.
you know,
That's why the light is non-dualistic.
right. That's
The
a
light of the
relief.
heart.
Yeah, that's a real relief, if you can get to it. Not really, I mean, I remember when I began to realize that,
If
if what?
if we can get to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Just- I mean, for a long time, I was operating under the horror of this dualistic thing,
Yes.
you know? I mean, I
We
probably
all are,
still am to
yeah.
some degree, but I mean, that's probably where a lot of the resistance is. But I remember when the intellectual idea finally realized that can't possibly be, that God didn't create an equal thing against him, you know, that
Yes.
it has to do with basically our experience here, just the way we're taking it.
Yes.
But that God is perfect, he can't be something wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the verbs thing, that God didn't create evil because God didn't make anything that wasn't good.
Yeah,
And evil is an appearance.
Yes. It is an appearance.
right.
Yes. Appearance for our growth.
Mm-hmm.
Appearance for our growth
Right.
and catalyst, whatever we need, provided for the release of our resistances.
My
You know,
God.
it's interesting when I read in Drew Mellow's book, when one of his experiences, he turns around and there's Saint Michael holding hands with Satan.
Yes,
You know, I thought, wow, that's great.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah. And that just opened up a whole thing to me, it just reaffirmed that thing. You know, I thought, God, you know, even though I know it differently, I've been operating in the idea that there's a Satan out there who wants
yes.
to get me,
Right, right.
you know?
Yeah, that's a strong message
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
that we take into our fear.
Yeah.
and then we blame things on him.
Right.
The devil made me do it.
Well, shall we move on to the tables?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.